Hi guys, happy Monday. All right, so I put on the glitter filter because I don't have makeup on and it was just easier. And I want to talk to you guys today about food sensitivities. Excuse me, I just ate lunch. Food sensitivity testing. I've decided that I need to keep talking about this because there's so much misunderstanding in gut health, and here's what sparked this conversation. Okay, so I'm totally into podcasts and listening to podcasts lately, and I listen to a lot of health-focused podcasts and entrepreneur-based podcasts because that's who I am. And you know how all the podcasts have advertisements by their sponsors. So typical sponsors that are kind of in the realm that everyone's hearing about probably are cool things like Four Sigmatic, who I'm an affiliate for, the mushroom coffee, and the different supplement companies. And this is another one that I keep hearing as an advertisement on the podcast. So these at-home blood tests essentially is kind of all the rage right now. So, and I can see why this is happening because, there's more and more awareness about our bodies and health and food and like what are the steps that we can take to heal ourselves. And maybe you don't want to go to a doctor or a functional medicine practitioner. So it's really just kind of like bringing it into the accessibility of more people, which is totally cool. But since I've been in the food sensitivity world for quite a long time, I wanted to remind you guys of a few things. If you are someone that is even considering doing a test like this or buying one online and thinking that it's going to solve all the problems in your body or your health. So let me preface it with this. So my philosophy is totally geared in the way that foods work in the body and their ability to energetically move through us and heal us. And so that's true. And the gut is phenomenally important when we want to heal something. Now, the people, if this is you, that is like interested in a food sensitivity test, typically the people that would want to be focused on a food sensitivity test are those that are having the digestive problem. So, and that's such a huge range, right? So it can be anything from, oh my God, I'm bloated all the time, to I feel sick after I eat, or I feel really full after I eat, or I feel really hungry after I eat, or I feel nauseous after I eat, or I've been to all the gastroenterologists and I don't know what to eat, and all the way to the extremes of things like Crohn's and IBS and colitis. So if you're having these kind of symptoms, it's a good thing that you're thinking about what can I do with my food, because that is the exact right place to start. But when we come into doing these kind of blood tests, there's sort of like a lag. There's a lag in what's known about gut health and then these tests. And like it's the same thing, and unfortunately quite a lot of things are getting better for sure, but like things with hormones and thyroid and stuff, you kind of have to understand the big picture and ultimately know what's really triggering these conditions, and then your testing can tell you more information. So I'm not opposed to testing, I just think this probably isn't like all that you might hope it could be, okay? All right, so let's dive into it. And I posted, I wrote about this a little while ago today, and I'm just gonna go into it a little bit further for clarification, because there's all these layers to it, and sometimes I forget that people don't look at things the way that I do, okay? So here's some of the major issues. I think there's like 5 that I wrote on this post, so I'll just kind of go through them a little bit more, and hopefully you guys can understand then, like if you still think that this is a good idea for you or not, okay? All right, so the premise of these food sensitivity tests is to test your blood right? And then therefore it's going to expose your blood to a certain number of foods. Now, these at-home ones that I've seen recently have about 90. The one that I used to work with had 150. So 150 different foods or food byproducts or chemicals or dyes would be exposed to your blood. So let's say they're testing a potato. They would take a sample of potato, and then your blood would be exposed to it, and then per the reaction level that is measured in the blood, then it would show if you were low, moderately, or high reactive to a potato, okay? Or any of these other 90 things or 150 things. But the first thing is these at-home ones that I've seen are an IgG test. So does anyone know what that means? I'll just go ahead and tell you. But feel free to ask questions in comments too if you guys have questions about gut health. So IgG is a pathway in the body that you can experience a food sensitivity to. And just a reminder that a food sensitivity is a delayed reaction, and that's why they're so tricky for people and can be really complicated, because it can happen to show up as a symptom in your body from like an hour after you eat this food or exposed to this food, or up to 3 days later. So there you go. You might not know how to pinpoint it is the point, okay? Now, it's not an allergy, and I hear people all the time when they're talking like, oh, I'm doing this food sensitivity test to see what I'm allergic to. That makes no sense at all. So an allergy is an allergy, and a food sensitivity is a food sensitivity, and then we also have intolerances. So that's just like a little bit of a lesser, maybe inflammatory value, right? So an allergy is an IgE pathway, and a food sensitivity runs on all these other pathways. Now IgG, the one that the at-home test is using, it's only one. It's only one of the potential pathways that a food sensitivity can occur through. So when you take a test like this, you could say, oh my gosh, I'm gonna look at 90 different foods, and all that's gonna be told to you is what of those 90 foods would be showing up in the IgG pathway. So I don't want to sound like too much of a scientist right here, but just so you understand, let's say you weren't reactive to potatoes on this test. Well, there's other pathways that these food sensitivities could occur through. So it only is testing this one. So there's others. So you might still be reactive in what they're measuring to a potato, but not on this test. So there's one error right there, okay? So the first thing is, if you even did go and decide to do a food sensitivity test, you want to make sure that you cover all of the pathways, potential pathways for a food sensitivity, not an allergy, but a food sensitivity. And the one that I used to work with is called LEAP MRT, and that does test that. So you at least on this first bullet point would be, hitting all the marks, okay? Now, I still don't do them, and you can keep listening, and I'll tell you why. So the second point is they test 90 foods, and the one that I used to use tests 150, so there's still a gap there in missing out if you were even going to do this, okay? So you want to make sure you're getting all the pathways covered and the most potential foods. So now here's the other thing. These tests, they're testing so many things, and they're also going to test things that most people that are going to understand the connection between food and health and symptoms will think of. They're going to include testing things like different kinds of dairy. They're going to test corn. They're going to test wheat. They're going to test different grains. They're going to test things like soy. And let's just say, for example, that your food sensitivity test didn't show that you were highly reactive to soy or something, or to cheese of some kind, okay? So then you might just go along your way and eat the cheese. But from the perspective of someone who understands the digestive system very well, like you wouldn't get better. I mean, your results would be so like less than stellar if you did this. Okay, so there's some foods, I don't care what a test says, they're triggers. They're triggers. And this has to do with the lack of, I guess, correctness in the test and in the process of what's actually being looked at, and it's missing the mark. So like if you're not already not avoiding the dairy and the soy, like you just start doing that, okay? Like there you go. I didn't even need to like put a needle in your arm. So because those are problems, they just are. They have been messed with the food system, and they are not happy gut foods, okay? So there's a problem there, because I used to do all kinds of these tests, you guys, and most people would be reactive to, you know, like things like cottage cheese and like corn, like nearly every single person was, and you know, like just different things, but not everyone was the same, okay? And so you don't want to like unknowingly be still eating something that actually is a trigger just because the test said that it maybe wasn't for you. Okay, next. Okay, this is the biggest point if you've ever considered doing a food sensitivity test to heal your gut. It's going to tell you that you are either low or moderate, or high reactive to all these different foods, and a bunch of these different foods on these tests are going to be fruits and vegetables and things like parsley and cilantro and basil and thyme and oregano. Now, it is not true that those foods are causing your food sensitivities. It's like this whole misunderstanding of what a food sensitivity even is. So the concept is that maybe you've been eating certain foods too often, or you just can't handle them right now, or like the really wrong thought process behind this is that you get sick from eating an apple, and the apple is the problem. Okay, no, the apple's not the problem. The problem is that your gut isn't healthy, and you're getting symptoms and signs from eating certain things because your gut isn't healthy. And it's not because you can't eat apples and you're never meant to eat apples, or you have to avoid them for X number of weeks or days, okay? So I want you to understand that. So here's what I have learned that's very important about food sensitivities and testing, and it is the reason that I don't use them anymore, because it's a waste of your money. So the tests are measuring inflammation, and the inflammation is not from the badness of the apple, let's say, but what's happening is we exposed your blood to all of these 90 to 150 different food items or whatever, and it does measure reactions in the blood, but the reaction isn't what you think. When it's the apple, the avocado, the salmon, the whatever, like the green beans, when you have that exposure, the inflammation measured is how strongly of an effect is that apple having on fighting the real problem inside of you, in your body, in your blood. So apples are really powerful foods. They're super cleansing foods and healing foods. And so it's like no wonder I would see a lot of these certain fruits and vegetables be triggers for a lot of my clients. Like apples was one, bananas was another one that was often on there. And people would be like, I eat bananas all the time, that must be why. No, that's not why. What's the reason is that bananas are very, very healing for the gut. If you have any kind of like nausea, bloating, like achy stomach stuff, they're on the brat list. The things that are supposed to be easy for you to eat if you have like stomach problems: bananas, rice, applesauce, and toast. So probably not toast, right? But they did get the banana part right. So that's why. So it's because the bananas, the apples, the avocado, whatever, they're so powerful. and they are fighting the problems inside of you. They're fighting bacteria, they're fighting viruses, they're fighting parasites, they're fighting. And they're very strong. This is why we call food medicine. This is why we say that food heals. This is why we can cure diseases with natural remedies. So to then go and look at this test and say, oh, well, my blood test said that I am moderately or highly reactive to apples and peaches and green beans and carrots and blah, blah, blah. So I'm not going to eat those for a while. Do you see how that this is a problem? Like, those are the foods that are literally your prescription, like the most potent. And it doesn't even need to be that specific, because your body is always giving you like cues and clues to what you need. But like, to avoid those foods, that's a mistake, because those are your healing foods. And the more, like, just in general, if you're having problems with digestion and energy and like healing something, you need more fruits and vegetables in your life, not less. You need more. Most people need more. And it's just, the healing will happen in the methodology of knowing how each of these different kinds of foods work. Thanks for the thumbs up, you guys. And it will come with understanding where in your body are the problems and the inflammation, and everything like that you have going on is a clue, and it's a sign, and it's a symptom. And of course, it's not just diet, it's your whole life. But we have to look at the diet because it's such a big, powerful influencer, right? Because it's an everyday thing. It's an all-day thing. And if you don't know how to navigate that, if you don't know how to manage that, if you don't know how to use that to your power and advantage, then you're missing out. So what else did I write on here? So the tests, they're not even like telling you what you need to know. They're just like an avoidance thing, and they're usually telling you like, avoid all these things. Sometimes you're not avoiding what you should. Sometimes you're avoiding things you shouldn't. So it's kind of like just a jumbled, puzzled mess. And the other problem is that unless you have somebody that's experienced in reading a food sensitivity test, that has this background knowledge of how foods interplay in the digestive system and the rest of the body, and like just can read you. So that's part of what I do with my clients that I've done so much work with their bodies in the food world and the gut world, is like my intuition comes through a feeling. So I can sense like what else is happening and kind of like guide them through, well, where do you start with food based on what your symptoms are. Hi, Revital. Yeah, there is. There's so many people that I follow on Instagram that have like all these bloating problems, and then they're doing all these weird, crazy things, and I'm like, oh no, I wish you would just listen. So that's why I'm talking about it again, for sure. There is a lot of confusion, and I think sometimes we just make things way too complicated, when the problem always lies in the fact that we don't know how our bodies work, and we don't know foods very well. We don't know how they combine together, and so many of us are disconnected from our own sense of intuition and need, and self-guidance, especially around body and food. And so, yeah, it's like easy to get persuaded to be like, yeah, I need to do that blood test, or I need to, go to another doctor. I need to do XYZ 12 million more things. But really, all of us have to start with what does our body need from us as far as a diet? And the generic answer is we need more plants. We need to eat plant-based. That means a lot of things to different people, but a high priority in healing foods is what we all need. But then the knowing of how to pull them in and use them in the right ways is really critical. So yes, tons of confusion out there, and that's why I wanted to make this video, because there's a lot of like really powerful influencers out there that are like doing this and like promoting this, and it's not, you don't need to be doing that, for sure, for real. And if you were following a food sensitivity protocol, like I've had a lot of clients that have had different tests done, and then they come to me because they're so confused, there's no real instructions. It's like, well, just avoid that. Well, for how long? How? What do I eat now? Because the what you eat now is what is of high and major and critical importance, because you don't have to wait till you can introduce apples again to start healing. You need to know what to eat today. And what you need to eat today is going to be comprised of, okay, what's showing up in your body? Even if you're like gut issues, well, that is huge. Like, tell me more. Like, what kind of gut issues? Is it the bloating? Is it the constipation? Is it both? Is it something else? Is it aches and pains, shooting pains, nausea, whatever? So those are all little clues, because there's these different areas of the gut, and there's like different areas where the energy will leak. Most of us are elephants. We need tons of plants. Sure. Do elephants need a lot of plants? Probably. In the jungle. Yeah, we need a lot of plants. We do. And we need good ones. And we need pesticide-free ones. So this is just like a big piece of a puzzle in this stuff that's happening out there. So I've decided to bring my program back that I'm going to do with, it's basically healing the gut with food. So it's everything that I have comprised from all of my years of food sensitivity testing, and the understanding of how the body works, how the digestive system works, how the energy systems work, and how to teach you how to identify where you need to start your healing protocol using a plant-based diet to heal the gut on whatever level that is. And of course, if you don't have a healthy gut, you likely have other inflammation showing up in your body, whether it's your skin, whether it's your adrenals, whether it's toxin issues or elimination issues. All different kinds of things will be affected when the gut isn't healthy. So I'm going to bring that program back and then run it live. So if you guys are interested in that, I'll put the page up. I should have it like linked up later today, but it's going to be live, and then you'll get an intro session with me so I can give you some one-on-one guidance too. And then you'll get all of the online access and modules, but plus we'll just be having live feedback from me throughout the program, so you can walk through it with me step by step. Some foods will rot the guts. Oh yeah, like sugar. Yep, corn. You gotta get it balanced for sure. So if you guys want to know about that, if you are like so sick of being bloated and you don't know what to eat anymore, I've helped so many different people with all different kinds of conditions. Like for example, some people have gut issues, but they don't feel it in the gut, and it shows up, like I said before, as more like energy or joints and skin and aches and pain, but it's all linked together. So you still have to know how to heal the digestive system as a priority. I've had people that have come to me and they've only been able to eat like less than 5 foods and nothing else will work, and now they eat literally anything that's, in a plant-based diet, and there's no restriction anymore. And I've helped people that are have major bacteria imbalances in the gut to having really bad cravings to be able to balance those out and not have them anymore. I've helped people that were stuck in their digestive system and that was inhibiting weight loss, and then they were able to lose the weight. Oh, I've helped people with like thyroid stuff too, linked to digestion. So I had a woman one time who couldn't lose weight, and she was eating like the tiniest amounts of foods and like salads, and like she was working with a trainer but not a digestive expert. And then we got it figured out, and she lost like 17 pounds in the first 2 weeks, which that might sound unsafe and healthy, but what you have to know is when your body is so inflamed, it's holding on so tight. And most of the time, like half of the weight you think you need to lose is in water, and so it's like backed up in the lymph, and your liver needs to like be able to have relief pressure, and then there's some water weight, and so that isn't abnormal if you've been chronically inflamed for a long time. So you have to like let go of the problems and all the sticking points, and you have to know how to work with that with your food. And this isn't about like only eating 12 things. Like when I used to do these tests, like you would literally get a column of foods, like 3 vegetables and 3 fruits, and you can use like lemon maybe if you're lucky. and random protein. So anyways, like you don't need to do any of that stuff. It's not necessary. Hey Mary, how's it going? That stuff isn't necessary. It's not restrictive elimination diet. It's how do I find the right foods that I do focus on to heal? And then the list of what to avoid is much shorter. It's much shorter, and it's the same for everyone. So that's why you don't need a blood test. So sorry, it's not the potatoes, and it's not, the apples or the mystery things you think it might be, like peas. For some reason, peas show up a lot for people. I think it's because they use pea protein powder and there's something in it. I don't know. But what I do know is I know how to help you get your digestion back on track. It's not hard. It's not hard at all. You just need to know these basics of like, how does the body work? What is it asking me for? What's missing? What's coming in that shouldn't be coming in? What it needs to be coming in that isn't coming in? What like pillars of simple health tweaks can I make? Castor oil, like, are you ingesting it? I know that it topically, it can be helpful for soothing inflammation, Revital. Castor oil is what I use on my eyelashes to make them grow. So there's that too. And I know people put it on their hair. I've never had someone ingest it. But, like sometimes women will use it for cramps in their period and stuff, which by the way shouldn't be even the case. Like that needs to be healed too inside. That's a healable moment. Okay. All right, you guys. So, my program I will put the link in, but just send me a PM if you want to know more. Okay. So it'll be an online component, one session with me up front, and then group coaching throughout. I'm taking 10, 11, or 12 people. That is all. Okay. So we can all be unbloated and happy forever, ever together. And you don't even have to draw your own blood. That's the benefit. Okay? All right, guys. So if you watch the replay, let me know. And I will talk to you soon. And if you have any other questions about healing your gut or digestive energy, post them up and I'm happy to do some videos for you. Okay, bye.